because he's now gone into a state of depravity, state of deprivation. He is now suffering from corruption. He is now inadequate. He is incomplete. He is no longer efficient or able to live and act proficiently. He is in a state of gloom and despair. And these are the conditions that have prevailed. What do you mean, Mr. Speaker? Well, I said a moment ago this was the syndrome effect, the Adam's action. It means, therefore, that there is a thing in our world which is called cause and effect. So something happens that causes a reaction that brings results, sometimes good, sometimes bad, sometimes catastrophe, and catastrophical results came about. The syndrome effect, or give it another word which is quite often used, the domino effect. You may be familiar with it, where an action is brought about, where one domino is affected, and all the dominoes that are set up in structures could be miles long. The action of affecting one domino has the ripple effect, and it's called the domino effect, and eventually it spirals on and on and on and on, affecting all that's around it, and it's continued to spiral. And that's what's happened. The syndrome effect of what Adam did has been spiraling ever since that moment until the day, the time that you and I are now living in. And so we're living in a time where men are weak in body, weak in ability, and weak because we are subdued by our environment. We are subdued by our circumstances and our situation. And we fail in our pursuits to either gain back momentum, mobility, health, or strength, victory, and adequacies. But thank God that is not the end of the story. We do not have to live like that anymore, because once humankind was in a desperate situation, unable to help themselves. But thanks be to God who favored us and leaned towards us forward with an outstretched arm of mercy and forgiveness, and brought into our world the cure. Yes, the cure. And talking about the cure, I would like to open the lines now so that we could discuss the cure. The answer to human plight, the answer to human struggle is victory through the grace of God or the mercy of God. And so we do not have to live in a state of bankruptcy, inadequacies, insufficiencies, worthlessness, helplessness. We do not have to act and behave and live disorientated, unable to think, unable to comprehend what's going on and how to maneuver ourselves, how to circumnavigate around the things that are in our path to disadvantage us. No, we do not have to live like that. As a matter of fact, we were told that Adam gained some insight into knowledge after he had eaten. Yes, he was made in the image of God and in the likeness of God, without sicknesses or disease or suffering or ailments, disappointment, inadequacies or incompleteness. All that was not the way he was. But with the violation of the law of the Lord, which was meant to be his rule and government for his life, brought him into catastrophe. And so this catastrophical events of life is now permanent, affecting you and I. But we do not have to continue like that. Because although he was invested with power, authority, and glory, although he was invested with wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, and was able to operate and function and maneuver superbly whilst he was still clothed in the wisdom of God and the knowledge of God, and was doing what was right by keeping the commandments, all was well. But when he violated that, he also brought sicknesses and disease and suffering into his world. I said a moment ago that man would not have known the value that he possessed had he not given the ability to demonstrate it, which was the whole purpose of a test. Remember, a test is not always designed to show weakness. A test is sometimes designed to show strength, ability, capacity, and value. In Adam's case, his test was not to bring him to ruin or despondency. It was an opportunity for him to show God that he was valuable, not only to God, but valuable to himself. Valuable to God as the representative that he was on earth in God's stead. And valuable to himself because he was bestowed with great value. There was a valuation that God had put on his life. God had given him importance among the creatures and all creation. The Bible said the Lord had given him dominion over all the works of his hand. He had a significant place in history. He was able to work and receive rewards or remunerations. He was able to appreciate. He was able to understand because he had personal property, and he was to rejoice in that and revel in it. There was a valuation placed upon him that gave him appreciation, judgment. He was going to be adequately compensated, and he was being assessed of his capabilities. His valuator, which is God, gave him relevancy. But of course, the law that was given to him was necessary, could not be avoided. It was mandatory, prescribed by the divine law of God, that man should be tested. And when proved valuable, virtuous, he would be rewarded and he would receive the benefits. But as you can see, he abdicated from his responsibility and caused sicknesses and disease. But the Bible said something interesting. The Bible said he ate from the tree of life. Correction, he did not eat from the tree of life, which he could have. But he ate from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Therefore, in his reward, he received knowledge from the tree. And that knowledge that he received meant that he would experience moments of grandeur, moments of splendor, moments of pleasure. He would experience moments of delight. But also, he would also receive knowledge of evil, meaning that he would have duality, wisdom, knowledge, understanding, but he would also have knowledge of pain, hurt, sicknesses, disease, suffering, ailing, and failing. This came with it also. He traded what he had for this information. The Bible said in Ecclesiastes chapter 7 verse 29 that man traded. What did he trade? He traded his godliness for invention. In other words, for a makeover. The devil gave him a makeover. And so he was made over from the way the Lord made him, which was righteous. He was made over in the devil's likeness and became unlike God, but just like the devil.